So, I heard that you want to become a world traveler. Luckily for you, I have 5 simple steps to become a world traveler. Now, when I say simple, I don't mean easy, because some of the steps are a little bit harder than others. But I promise you, if you can follow these 5 simple steps, you'll be traveling the world in no time. Alright, step number 1, and this is going to sound obvious to a lot of people, so don't skip out of the video if it doesn't apply to you, because all the other steps are important. But for the Americans out there, get a damn passport. You're not going to start traveling the world without a passport. Us Americans, we don't receive them at birth or when we're younger. We have to get them ourselves, and a lot of people I talk to abroad are really baffled that 80 to 90% of Americans, and majority of the people that I personally know, don't have passports. Now for the Americans out there watching, it's not that difficult to get a passport. All you have to do is go to the local post office, get the proper paperwork, get your pictures taken, fill out the paperwork, pay the amount, turn it in, and wait for your golden ticket. Like me, when getting a passport, I kind of thought there was going to be a competition, and it involved contests and winning a gauntlet and slaying a dragon and all this other stuff and winning a Willy Wonka ticket. But it's actually just that simple: filling out the paperwork, submitting it, paying the amount, and waiting for your passport. Step number 1, get a damn passport. Step number 2, stop thinking that traveling is expensive. Now, it can be expensive, absolutely, if you're staying in resorts or depending on the style of your travel, but it can be very inexpensive as well. And for me personally, traveling the world has been cheaper than living in the United States. I don't have a $100 monthly bill for my phone bill. I don't have car insurance and car payments. I'm not paying for healthcare, and I don't have rent for an apartment to pay. And really, if you're staying in hostels or even Airbnbs, a lot of times it ends up being $100 to $200 a month. Traveling the world really depends on your style of travel, but stop thinking it's expensive, because it can be very inexpensive to you if you choose to go the backpacking route, staying in hostels, visiting cheaper countries like Southeast Asia or Eastern Europe, and just overall making your money go very far. Cooking in the hostel kitchens and stuff like that, preparing your meals, and you're not always going out. When I'm here in the United States, at least before I started seriously traveling the world, I was always going out Friday, Saturday, Sunday nights, spending $100 each night on going out and drinking. And then after work, when I was working a job I didn't like, I was going out after work and drinking, because you're like, oh, today kind of sucked, so let's go grab a couple beers. And that couple beers would always turn into $50, $60, $70 nights, maybe even more of spending that. Travel is not as expensive as you think it is, and it can be actually cheaper than living in your home country. Step number 3, save like crazy. Save like you've never saved before. Save like when you were a little kid looking in the couches for pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, whatever you could find, just to go to the ice cream man down the road. Now, I've already said that travel's not that expensive, but you're going to need some money to start out with. Not a huge amount. Don't think you need $20,000 to start traveling the world. I've never saved that amount of money. I've usually just gone off with like $1,500 to $3,000. Now, I don't recommend that, because you want some money to fall back on in case of emergencies or in case of changes in plans. And there's really easy ways to start saving money. First of all, if you're going to get coffee every day from coffee shops like Starbucks, once or twice a day, that's $5 to $10 a day. That adds up to $150, $300 a month that you could be saving by just cutting out coffee or buying coffee at coffee shops. Now, that also applies to eating out all the time. Imagine how much money you would save if you made your lunch versus buying lunch at work and also going out for dinners all the time. If you start meal prepping and also just making your own food, you're gonna save a lot of money fast. For the cigarette smokers out there, a lot of people aren't gonna wanna hear this. Probably the best thing you can do to save money is quitting smoking, or at least turning down your smoking habits quite a bit, because the amount of money you might save if you quit smoking, or the drinkers out there, the amount of money that you might save if you quit drinking for a bit or quit going out for drinks all the time, is going to be a ton of money. And all these little things, stop eating out, stop buying coffee at coffee shops, stop going out for drinks, stopping smoking, all those things, or even one of those things are going to add up really fast. And some people might go, oh, well, that takes all the fun out of my week or something like that. But there you go, priorities. If you want to prioritize travel over just these bad habits, then start doing that. If you can't prioritize saving money by not going out and doing all these other things, then you probably aren't going to become a world traveler. So save like crazy. Number 4, lose all the shit. I know that's a little bit blunt, but if you have a ton of stuff, a ton of possessions, they end up possessing you. And they're going to be like an anchor holding you back from traveling the world. If you have a lot of things in storage or waiting for you back home, you're always going to be thinking about, what am I going to do with these things? What about my car? What about my 2 TVs? What about my snowboards? What about this and that? Trust me, coming from a former pack rat who just collected a bunch of shit, it was really hard to start traveling or even think about traveling when I had all that stuff. And I couldn't even travel until I really took a deep look at all the stuff I had and decided what I needed and what I didn't need, because all that junk's not going to fit in a backpack. And if you want to start traveling the world and doing it for a long period of time, you're going to have to get rid of everything that doesn't fit in your backpack. Now, I'm not saying get rid of family albums and trinkets and things like that that are really, really important to you, but look at all the clothes that you have, look at all the other electronics that you have, and decide, do I really need this? Is it adding something to my life? And can it actually be held on to while I'm traveling the world? Or is it worth just getting rid of so I can go on to lead this specific type of life? It's a bit difficult, I know, but I would say make a 10 by 10 space, take all the things that are most important to you and put it in that space. And everything that doesn't fit in that space, you're going to need to get rid of. And then take that space and cut it in half, because all that stuff is not going to fit in your backpack. Cut it in half, put the most important things in that 5 by 5 space, and decide what you can leave behind in storage with family and friends. And then everything else is what's going to need to fit in your backpack, especially if you're going to be traveling 6 months to a year. So if things in that area don't fit into a backpack, you're going to need to get rid of them as well. Now, for myself, I live out of a backpack solely. I have a tech bag that has all my technology in it, laptop and things like that. And then I have a camera bag, and it all fits on my body, and I carry that everywhere I go. I don't have anything else now. Now, I do have a box of important documents that is living with friends in California. It's just a vintage box. It has a typewriter, because I love that typewriter. Just some spare clothes that I occasionally pick up. And the most important things to me, family photos and documents and things like that. But everything else fits in my backpack. So if you want to start traveling the world, get rid of all the shit. My number 1 advice, besides getting a passport, stopping thinking traveling is expensive, saving like crazy, getting rid of your shit, is number 5, buying that ticket. This is of course an obvious one, but for some it might be the most difficult, is booking the ticket. You've got to book the ticket. If you want to solidify your travel plans, and even just the beginning, you don't have to book all of your tickets around the world. It can just be the starter destination, but really take into account what destination speaks to you most and what inspires you most, what calls to you most, and book that ticket. Because until you book that ticket, everything else, all those other steps and all that prep is not set in stone. Because there might be something deep down inside of you that goes, okay, I've done all this, but should I buy this ticket? What if this happens? What if that happens? And you start to worry a lot about actually committing, and then everything else falls through and you might actually cancel those plans. And I've seen it happen a lot with friends and people I've met, where they start second guessing themselves because they don't have a ticket. In their heart, in their mind, in their prep, they've prepared to actually start traveling the world, but they haven't committed by buying that ticket. And then it all just falls away. So put in concrete, set in stone, make it a permanent choice, and it also gives you something to really look forward to. Once you have that ticket, the adventure is real. You can start planning, you can start bragging a little, looking forward to that moment where you get to fly and start your adventure, starting to chase your dream of traveling the world, and really building towards that goal. Because once you have that ticket booked, and your possessions are all given away, and your load is a bit lighter, and the pressure is lighter, and you have that money saved for the goal that you've bought the ticket for, you're going to feel ecstatic and it's all going to start becoming real. And then you're going to be on the plane, flying away to some far off exotic country, starting that adventure, building that momentum, and then it just won't stop until you decide to stop. Or until, of course, you run out of money like I do a lot. But there's ways around it. You can travel the world and go get a working holiday visa somewhere. You can start traveling the world and just work for accommodation in hostels. You can, like me, start traveling the world and then decide you want to work on sailboats as a photographer. There you have it, my 5 simple steps to start traveling the world. And I really hope that you start traveling the world if you want to. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, put them in the comments below. If you dig the tips and you like the video, I would love if you like the video and subscribed, because I'm going to keep trying to do more of these tips and tricks and tutorials to share my knowledge about traveling the world with you all. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a rad day.